Welcome to Tabletop Gaming with Juice. I'm Juice, and this is the Chapter 6 Dungeon Master Guide review. This chapter is titled Between Adventures, and before I even go any further, I just want to say this is another fantastic chapter. This one dives a little bit into how to string your adventures along, keeping your players interested, and it also talks about downtime activities. It's a great book It's a great chapter for new DMs, just like the rest of this book, which is a reoccurring theme. I know I've said it in every video. Fantastic book for new DMs. This chapter's coverage of the downtime activities is also kind of nice because it gives you new activities you can do, such as building a stronghold and things like that. And so the mechanics for that, I think, are invaluable if you plan on running any 5th edition campaigns. Now, I do know some DMs don't allow their players to do a whole lot between adventures or in downtime, so that might even be something that's completely optional in your games. So without further ado, I'm just going to talk about each section and my thoughts about it. So it does start off talking about linking adventures. And it talks about using an overarching story and how your players might use different methods to stop whatever the theme is. So for instance, you're trying to stop a villain from ending the world. Well, your players might, in one scenario, try to stop the villain. In another scenario, they might try and retrieve the item that would have ended the world. In another scenario, they might try and go and get an item to stop the villain. So there's all sorts of different things that can happen in order to do this. And so it has a few examples. The Quest of Many Parts, which is basically that you tie the adventures together using the overarching goal. And basically they have to do a series of quests related to it, right? And it's a little bit more open-ended, but, well, it says it's not, but it's a little more open-ended that way, where the players are driving the story with the overarching theme. You know what I mean? So I like this. And it even mentions that if you have it really focused on the set of things they need to do before they finish it, that your players should enjoy the tight focus on it. But to me, this one's a little more open-ended. It's like, okay, so the players hear somehow that they have to do certain things in order to stop this overarching enemy, this villain. Okay, so do the players just boom, 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 pound them out and go to all these places and finish it? Maybe. Or maybe they do a couple side quests, then do a couple more. To me, it's very open-ended. Example 2 is a little bit more rigid. And what I mean by that is because it says, it's titled Agents of X. So you can build a campaign around the idea that the adventurers are agents of something larger than themselves, a kingdom or secret organization, for example. To me, this is kind of I see a lot of new DMs do stuff like this. Hey, you're in a faction. You get orders from your boss to do this. Okay, great. You did that. You get orders from your boss to do this now. That seems like how a lot of newer DMs run things sometimes. And that's fine. It can still be a lot of fun. And you can still run this in a more open way, But from what I've seen, a lot of newer DMs run this, and it's a very rigid campaign. You work for someone, and you just go and do jobs for them over and over and over again. So anyways, that's the 2 examples it uses. It then talks about planting adventure seeds in advance, so kind of like foreshadowing. For instance, I did this in my previous campaign this last weekend, and the players got through a dungeon, found a bunch of burning papers, and at the bottom, after they sifted through the burnt coals of paper, they found a letter. So I gave them the letter, and now they have a seed for something that's going to happen down the line. They know it's months ahead. They don't know exactly where they think they do, but they don't. They just know a temple near a really large city. but I foreshadowed something. So they know something big is about to happen. So I'm going to do some things between now and then, a couple more adventures, and then we'll see what happens based on what they do. But anyways, it talks about foreshadowing something, but without overstepping the current adventure. So the players are involved in this current adventure, and it's saying in this part that you still want them to be excited about what they're doing and not just blatantly disregard the rest of this adventure because now they're focused on something that's happening later on. So again, this is a very good section. Highly recommend reading this. Okay, then it talks about foreshadowing, but the section before that's still talking about it. But it talks about foreshadowing. Then it goes into campaign tracking. This is something that I try to do to a high level, and I do it at a very poor level. So luckily, I've recorded sessions for my one play group, so I'm able to go back and watch it and figure out where things left off and what I gave them. But the other campaign, luckily, I have a very well-defined outline of the campaign. So I can always keep myself on track. The problem is I forget, what NPCs they've interacted with. I forget some of the loot they've gotten. There's little things that I tend to forget. And I think part of that is because I'm running 3 games. I'm running encounters. I'm running 2 campaigns for D&D. I run online games every now and then, and I run I'm going to be running a Heroes Unlimited game. I mean, so basically I'm always running something or playing something, it seems. So for me, I need to get better at this section. And so it talks about things like campaign planner. So like, a DM binder that's based on your campaigns. It talks about, it doesn't really go too much detail, but you got programs out there like Obsidian Portal. I think Roll20 does it really well. I could be wrong. But all sorts of things you can use. Evernote, Microsoft OneNote, there's all sorts of things out there to help you with this. I've used Obsidian Portal. I like it because it has a separate section for what everyone can see and then just the GM can see. So I think I like that. It talks about character notes. So write down the character's backgrounds, yada, yada, yada. Player handouts, keeping a copy of them. Adventure log. NPC notes, campaign calendar, and a toolbox. So all this stuff is really good. Again, this is something ever since I've even started running games, this is something I've tried to work at. And so I'm always trying to fine tune my organization when it comes to my campaigns, I guess. So that's very important to me. The next section talks about reoccurring expenses, and it kind of goes into downtime activities right here, even though it doesn't explicitly say, hey, these are downtime activities. But in the recurring expenses, it talks about your daily, it refers to the player's handbook for your daily living costs, basically, based on your lifestyle that you choose, whether you want to be poor, rich, whatever. It then talks about how as you get higher in levels, you might be gifted businesses or land or all sorts of different things. And so you'll have maintenance costs and you'll have reoccurring costs for paying people that work there and things like that. So, okay, that's fine. I felt like this was a little out of place. I feel like this should have been probably with the downtime activities or after the downtime activities personally, but whatever. It then goes into businesses, garrisons, and then downtime activities. Now, the downtime activities, it explicitly says, refers to the stuff in the player's handbook. Then it says more downtime activities, and it says building a stronghold, which this was one of the preview pages, but tells you the things you have to do to build a stronghold. So you have to own land, however you get it, kind of up to the DM, whether it's gifted, you buy it, whatever. But then it's got building costs and construction time. Now, something that kind of confused me when I was reading this, it stated Work can continue while the character is away, but each day the character is away adds 3 days to the construction time. Okay, so I decide I want an abbey built, we'll say. Takes 400 days to build. If my character leaves the first day, it's now going to take 403 days to build. If my character's gone for 400 days, it's going to take 1,200 days to build. So those days that are accrued from him not being there, if he's not there, then does it accrue more days? It doesn't make a lot of sense to me. In fact, I think I'm going to tweak this. And using the Abbey as the example, since it says 400 days to build, I would say that it would take 1,200 days to build when you're not there. And it takes 400 days to build when you're there managing it. I think that's how I would rule that. Just to make it make sense, a little more sense, I guess. Again, just my opinion. Because I just thought the way it was worded sounds weird. And maybe they meant for it to be like, oh, you're gone. It's going to take, never-ending amount of days as long as you're never there. But yeah, so anyways, that's how I'm going to rule that. Then it goes into carousing, which is kind of neat because you can make money in your downtime. So I thought that was neat. The crafting magic items is not that bad. Only magic users can do it. They have to be a minimum level to craft certain things. I like that. They need to have the money. And up to the DM, they might need to forge it at a certain place. They might need to also go and get supplies from certain places. So I actually like that. It's not OP. The time it takes to craft certain things might be a little low in my opinion. But I guess it would depend. So for example, they have to be able to cast spells, right? Well, they also need to have blacksmithing. They can't just make something because they know spells. So in that case, and it even says in here, you can work together with somebody else. So you might have a fighter, right, who's a blacksmith, and you have a wizard. And they decide to work together to help the fighter make an uncommon sword. That's going to be 500 gold, and 500 gold is about 20 days, right? Yes, so it's about 20 days. That's not too bad. That's, conceivably, like, depending on the DM, how much downtime you want to give them in increments and things like that. I mean, you could have that span over the course of like 7, 8 adventures, So that, like I said, that's not too bad. I will probably allow my players to craft magic items. I will probably tweak the amount of time it'll take. And I don't usually give a lot of downtime at low levels. So, like I said, I'm okay with this, I think. Yeah. Oh, and it also mentions that your magic user would need to find like a recipe basically for doing it. So again, I'm actually okay with this. Normally, I hate the idea of crafting magic items. I hate the idea of letting my players do it. This doesn't seem real overpowered to me. And I think that's because I still have a lot of control with it. So good by me. Then it goes into gaining renown with your organizations, so you can spend your downtime doing that. Goes into performing sacred rites. And before reading this, I kind of thought this would be cool. So your cleric, we'll use as the example. Maybe they go to help their church out for their downtime. And it says in here, a character who spends at least 10 days performing sacred rites gains inspiration. Awesome. I was thinking, oh, they're only going to get it the one day. That kind of stinks. But it says at the start of each day for the next 2d6 days. That is awesome. I like that. I think it makes sense for the character, and if you're basically an acolyte as a background or a cleric or something along those lines. Or, I mean, I guess anybody could really do it. You can go and help out your church and pray and be blessed with this by your deity, regardless what you are. So I'm okay with that. It goes into running a business. The running a business isn't too bad either. Talks about unpaid debt, choosing how many days you're going to help out kind of deal. And then you roll on the running a business chart. So if you, well, without giving away the mechanics, you can lose money, which then you accrue debt. And if you accrue debt, then you can start losing your business, basically. If you make money, well, you make it for the amount of days you decided to put into it. So with a maximum of 30. So say I put 30 days into my business, right? That's an automatic 30 plus my D percentile roll. So yeah, so anyways, you basically break even, almost guaranteed, unless you had debt already. But if you roll well, right? So the business covers its own maintenance cost for each of the days. It earns a profit of 1d6 times 5 gold per day, basically. It doesn't say per day, but it is per day, I think. Yeah, that's how I understood it before. But I guess it wouldn't be per day. I guess that would be just total profit. So that's fine too. I mean, you're still getting maybe 30 gold over the course of a month. That's not too bad. I would say that's pretty fair. And that's for your profits, and it covered its own maintenance. The maximum you can get is 3d10 times 5 gold for 30 days of work. So that would be 30 times 5. That's what, 140 gold. So it's not bad. You get 140 gold for doing downtime activities. Awesome. So then it talks about selling magic items, and it gives you some mechanics for that. I'm okay with that too. It basically says that it's very difficult. You can try to sell multiples, and but you might not be able to find anybody. I like that. There also can be consequences. So, for instance, a buyer offering a quarter of the base price and a shady buyer offering half the base price. So you can choose right there between the buyer who's offering a quarter of the base price and a shady buyer who's offering half of it. That's one option that you can choose between the two. I think that's awesome. I just do. So then later on, I can make this shady buyer a villain or whatever, and it could get the players in trouble. So I like that. The next part is called sowing rumors. So basically you're starting rumors. Now the rumors could be good, they could be bad, they could be whatever. But basically you're trying to change the community's outlook on a person, an organization, yourself, the group, something. And with this comes, you have to pay money, because basically you're like drinking and entertaining people while talking to them. So there's different things there. I thought that was kind of interesting. That could add a lot of flavor to a game. It talks about training to gain levels. Now, this is an optional rule where instead of just saying, oh, okay, you guys have enough XP now, you have a full night's rest, now you level up, you can force the players to go back to a city to train, pay money, use their downtime to train the level before getting a new level. That's interesting. That is something I may entertain doing. In another campaign. I guess that would be more of a milestone game for me, though. I wouldn't do it as an XP-based game. I would do it as a milestone game. At least I think I would. I don't know. But I think that's kind of interesting. And I actually like how they handle it a little bit. It does cost you money. For instance, 2nd through 4th level, it takes 10 days to train and then 20 gold. Creating downtime activities is the final, I think it's the final section. Yeah, the final section of the chapter. And, it basically is saying use your discretion, try not to come up with downtime activities that prevent the players from going out and adventuring, because otherwise they'd just stay around and do that all the time. Yeah, so it says activities that reveal new adventure hooks and previously unknown facts about your campaign can help you foreshadow future events and conflicts. So just some things to think about. So basically what I want to say is this chapter is a very good chapter. It is very useful with the new 5th edition. The downtime activities, the way it's balanced with everything. I think it's a really well done chapter. I think this chapter is a must-have for anybody running 5th edition. I think it has some great things in here for new DMs in the beginning, and then the rest of it is all for anybody basically. So again, I love this chapter. I will probably be using it. Obviously, you guys could hear me talk about, my thoughts on different things, so you know what I'm more likely to use over others. But again, a very well done chapter, and I'm looking forward to trying some of these in some future games. I'd probably want to try them from the start of a campaign as opposed to a campaign I've already began. So maybe the next campaigns I start with my 2 respective groups, I will refer to these different rules, such as possibly training to gain levels. So tomorrow is Saturday, and I will probably do the chapter review for Treasure. And then Sunday, I will have Chapter 8 up. That will be, I'm trying to remember. I don't even know what that's titled. Instead of going to the table of contents, I'm going to flip till I get there. Sorry for the dead air. Chapter 8 is running the game, so that'll be Sunday. And then Monday will be the Dungeon Master's Workshop. And Tuesday, I will try and cover, I believe it's the appendices. Yeah, the appendix. So there you go. That's the chapter review schedule. Also, check out my blog over on rpgjuice.com. I'm going to have a blog post up about the first half of this book and my thoughts on it. That should be up today, probably midday, so maybe like noon Eastern time. And then also be sure to follow me on Twitter. And then Facebook, obviously, Tabletop Gaming with Juice. If you're seeing this somewhere other than on YouTube, go over to YouTube and subscribe, Tabletop Gaming with Juice. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, and share this video with your friends. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys next time. Thank you. Oh, and I want to hear your guys' thoughts on these downtime activities, for example. Are there any of those that you plan on using? Because I just want to hear your thoughts. And why would you use them and why wouldn't you? So thank you again, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye-bye.